Witness stand. Yeah. Please raise your right hand as best as you can. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? Yes. You may take the seat. Please speak loudly and clearly. You may examine Mr. Zellman when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you please state your name for the record and make sure you speak into the microphone?
Yes, Donna Adelson.
Now, I want to direct your attention. We heard the call earlier. The call on November 7th of 2023 at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And for the record, that was call number 561. Do you remember where you worked?
Yes, I was in my apartment, in my living room.
Do you remember who was present when you got the call?
Yes, my husband, Harvey, and friends of mine, my attorney, Susan Brotman, and her husband, Richard Chagrin.
You said your attorney. What kind of law does Ms. Brotman practice? Or did she?
She does estate planning.
Was Ms. Brotman present at your apartment for the purposes of providing you with legal counsel?
Yes, she was.
And do you remember receiving the call from Charlie?
Yes, of course.
And where was Charlie at the time?
So he was in a room by himself. It was after the conviction.
Was he in jail?
He was in jail.
Okay. What did you do when you saw that Charlie was calling?
Answered the phone.
And you heard the recording that we played earlier?
Yes.
And you agreed for your call with your son to be recorded, correct?
Yes.
As the call was happening, do you know at what point Charlie was no longer on the call?
No, only when because I was talking, and then all of a sudden I asked him something, and I said, "Charlie, do you hear me, Charlie?" And I said it a few times, and he didn't respond anymore, and I knew the call was over.
Now,
what if I told you that a grandmother, a bookkeeper at her family's dental practice, a woman who had never even gotten a parking ticket, orchestrated one of the most calculated family conspiracies in modern American crime? What if I told you that behind her gentle exterior lay a mind capable of transforming maternal love into something deadly? That she would use her own children as pawns in a scheme that would end with a brilliant law professor bleeding out in his own garage? This isn't fiction. This is the story of Donna Adelson. Before we dive into this shocking case, if you're fascinated by true crime stories that expose the darkness hiding in plain sight, hit that subscribe button right now. We bring you the most compelling, deeply researched cases that will make you question everything you thought you knew about family, loyalty, and justice. Don't miss out. Subscribe to Dark Trail Files and join our community of truth seekers.
in the course, during the time that your son was incarcerated in Leon County Jail, did that happen more than, was that a frequent occurrence?
Yeah, it happens. It happens a lot, unfortunately.
Okay. And would there be times when you didn't realize at first that he was no longer on the call?
Yes.
Where in your apartment were you when this happened?
So I was in my living room.
And you heard your voice on that first call number 562, when you repeated, Charlie, Charlie, are you there?
Right.
Did you believe the call had ended?
Yes.
And in times prior to this, what would happen after that, what would you do when that would happen?
If he didn't respond anymore, that was it. The call was over.
And what would you do with your phone?
I'd hang up.
Now, same thing with the call on November 8th of 2023, the one at 6:38 in the morning. Do you know at what point your son was no longer on the phone?
I don't. I don't remember the call.
In either one of those situations, or in both of those situations, did you believe the call was over?
Yeah, the call was over. He was gone.
And you went about your business?
Yes.
Now, with respect to the November 7th, 2023 phone call when your attorney, her husband, and your husband were present at your apartment, did you agree for your attorney-client conversation to be recorded?
No.
Did you agree for your conversation with your husband to be recorded?
No. Of course not.
Now, the following day, did you agree for your subsequent conversation with your husband to be recorded?
No.
Now, you heard the recording. To consent to this call, press 1. Or recording of this call, press 1. Correct?
Correct.
You hung up the phone after those calls were over.
Thought I did.
Just a moment, Your Honor. Nothing further at this time, Your Honor?
Cross-examination.
Good morning.
So there in the room with you during this call was, you said your one of your attorneys, Susan Brotman, your husband, and then also Susan Brotman's husband.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And he was not your attorney?
He was not.
Your attorney?
No, he's not an attorney.
Okay. You were informed at the beginning of that call, this is the one on November 7th that recorded you while they were all in the room. You were informed that you were being recorded if you accepted that call?
Yes.
Okay. And that if you do not want to be on that recorded call, that you needed to hang up the call. Is that right?
Are you saying, does the recording say...
Right. If you do not want to accept that recorded call, you should hang up.
If you do not... Yeah, no, I accepted the recorded call.
Okay. And you typically do hang up your calls, you said, after
I mean, I think I did.
your calls with
yeah.
Charlie Adelson when he was in custody. All right, but this particular call that day, evidently, you did not properly hang up, right?
Evidently.
Okay. And have you ever forgotten to press the button on a call before?
I mean, it may have happened. I don't know.
Sure. Has your phone pocket dialed people before?
Has it what?
Pocket dialed people before? When you've been out of custody.
Pocket dialed?
Right.
I don't know what you mean.
Like if your phone is in your pocket or in your purse and it accidentally calls someone you didn't mean it to?
I mean, that could have happened, sure.
Okay. And you also could have not pressed the button on your cell phone to end a call before, right?
It's possible.
Okay. It's not quite as big of a deal as it used to be when you would actually have to hang up the phone.
Right.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Redirect examination.
Briefly, Your Honor. The consent that you gave for the call to be recorded, when did that end?
It ended when Charlie hung up, or when whatever stopped the call. I mean, I don't know how it stopped, but it stopped. When the call was over with Charlie, it was over.
Nothing further.
You may step down.
On July 18th, 2014, Dan Markel, a respected Florida State University law professor, pulled into his Tallahassee garage. Two men were waiting. They shot him in the head. He died hours later at the hospital, leaving behind two young sons and a nation asking one question: why? The answer would take more than a decade to fully unravel. And at the center of it all was Donna Adelson, a 73-year-old grandmother who prosecutors would call the mastermind behind a murder-for-hire plot fueled by custody battles, family obsession, and a twisted sense of maternal duty. The Adelsons appear to have it all. They ran a successful dental practice in South Florida. Money flowed freely. They lived in luxury. But beneath the surface, something was rotting. And that rot began with Donna's inability to let go. Donna's daughter, Wendy Adelson, had married Dan Markel in 2006. At first, Donna approved. Dan was accomplished, brilliant even. But when Wendy filed for divorce in 2012, everything changed. The custody battle that followed would expose the true nature of the Adelson family dynamics. Wendy wanted to move from Tallahassee to South Florida with the couple's two sons, bringing them closer to her family. Dan refused. He had built his career in Tallahassee. He had rights as a father. The court agreed with him. Wendy would have to stay. On the day Dan died, Wendy was brought to the police station. What she said in that moment, especially the call she made to her mother, would become crucial evidence years later. Watch how carefully she chooses her words.
Okay, here goes. This is the worst day of my life. Maybe I should text them if I can't reach them. Hi, Mom. How's it going? Mom, I need you to sit down. I am fine. The boys are fine. I need you to sit down. I'm fine, and the boys are fine. Danny has been. You can put me on speaker. Yeah. Danny has been shot. And I don't think he's gonna make it. And so I know. So I found this out around 1 or 2 today, and I'm at the police station, and I'm trying to help them figure out who may have done this. The boys are fine. I had Lynn and Alan pick them up from school, and they're with Lynn and Alan right now. And I'm gonna leave here soon and go be with them. But I really need you to come here and be with me. But I want you to either fly, obviously you can't leave right now, but I need you to get yourself together. If it's too much to drive, I'd really rather that you flew up. I'm at the police station, and I'm gonna leave soon and be with the boys before they go to bed. They're with Alan and Lynn, and they're totally fine. Yeah, the boys are fine, but they don't know anything yet. In his house, I know. So I just need you to calm down before you get in the car, okay? Okay, so, and it's evening, so if you want to come here tomorrow, I have a lot of people that'll, be here with me, and, we'll have a lot of support. So I want you to take your time and just be safe in getting here, but I'd like you to come when you can, okay? Yeah. Okay, all right. I love you. I think Jane might, I have the car here, but Jane might take me. I'm not going to be alone, so I have a lot of support, and I'll be fine. Yeah, if you could just come here, that would be great. He's He's in the ICU in the hospital. Okay, but be careful, okay? Okay. 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 Love you too. Bye. Mom? Oh.
You did awesome with that call.
Thanks.
You were so stressed out about it, and you handled it.
If he goes to the house.
Sorry, my mom might be calling back because she heard me. Mom? You did, yeah. I just wanted to ask if you could just tell Charlie for me. I just don't want to be making calls right now, so if you could just tell Charlie for me, that would be great. Okay, and just, like, it's on the news a little bit that there was a shooting on Trescott, and so I'm starting to get a lot of calls, and I'm not going to be answering them unless they're from you, so I would really try not to tell anybody what's going on just yet, just because, like, he's in the hospital, and Charlie, I talked to Charlie earlier today, obviously before any of this happened. Like, I talked to him at like 10 this morning, and he said that he was coming to visit you guys this weekend, and he had plans, and he sounded good. I just can't, Mom. So can you just tell him? Yeah, just tell him for me, and then I'm sure I'll talk to him soon. But I don't want to be on the phone unless I have to right now. Okay? Okay. All right. Love you too. Bye. My mom handled that pretty well. Could you hear her?
Yeah. I think, because you're a mama, but moms always go in that natural instinct to kind of protect and help and...
Yeah. I'm waiting to hear from you whenever you can. That's Jane. When she said she's here if I need company or a ride, do you think she meant here, like, metaphysically? Or here, like, in the lobby? Is she...
No, I think I would hope metaphysically. And again, remind me, Jane's the neighbor down the street that Oh, no, Jane.
Whoa. What kind of a rude way to say it.
For Donna Adelson, this custody arrangement wasn't just inconvenient. It was unacceptable. Her daughter, her grandchildren, were trapped 500 miles away. In Donna's mind, Dan Markel had become more than an obstacle. He had become the enemy. Court documents would later reveal that Donna was deeply enmeshed in Wendy's divorce proceedings. She wrote mediation notes. She suggested legal strategies. She even pushed for a restraining order against Dan. Prosecutors describe her involvement as obsessive, controlling, and ultimately deadly. Dan Markel had filed what became known as the Grandma Motion, a court filing alleging that Donna was disparaging him to his own children. The boys had reportedly told their father, "Grandma says she hates you." Dan sought to limit Donna's unsupervised access to his sons. That hearing was scheduled for shortly after his death. It never happened. What makes this case uniquely chilling is how Donna weaponized family loyalty itself. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was a family project executed with the cold efficiency of a business plan. Donna didn't pull the trigger. She didn't need to. She had Charlie, her son, a successful periodontist who would do anything for his mother. Charlie had the connections. Through his ex-girlfriend, Catherine Magbanua, he had access to people willing to do terrible things for money. The prosecution would eventually call Donna's own son to testify against her. Robert Adelson, the estranged eldest child who had escaped his mother's control, would reveal the true nature of life inside the Adelson family. His words painted a devastating portrait.
Thank you. Could you tell us your name and spell your name for our court reporter, please?
Sure. Robert Todd Adelson, Adelson.
Thank you. And what state do you currently live in?
New York.
And how long have you lived in New York?
13 years.
Okay, so since maybe 2012?
Yes.
All right. What do you do for a living in New York?
I'm an ENT.
Okay, so ear, nose, and throat doctor?
Yes.
And how long have you worked as an ENT?
For 20 years.
How do you know the defendant in this case, Donna Adelson?
She's my mother.
And Harvey Adelson's your dad?
Yes.
Wendy and Charlie Adelson are your siblings?
Yes.
Okay. And where did you grow up?
In Coral Springs, Florida.
Is that a bit north of Miami?
Yep.
About how long of a drive?
About an hour north of Miami.
Okay. When y'all were growing up, did you all, the five of you, live in the same house as a family?
Yes,
And who's the oldest child?
I am.
Okay. Who's the middle child?
Charlie.
How many years between you and Charlie?
3 years between Charlie and I.
And then who's the youngest then is Wendy?
Yes,
And how many years between Charlie and Wendy?
3 years.
Okay. When you were 18, did you move out of the Coral Springs house?
Yes, when I went to college.
Okay. And did you go to college at University of Florida?
I went to Tulane.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Did you live in Gainesville at some point?
I did, yes.
Okay, thank you. So after you went to college at Tulane and then went on to med school, went on to residency, throughout those years, did you continue to talk to your parents and your siblings on a regular basis?
Yes,
And would you see them a couple of times a year?
yes,
When you were in school, would you go home for the summer?
yes.
Based on your personal observations throughout your life of your parents and of your siblings, who is the leader in the family? Who tends to run the show?
I think my mom.
Okay, so Donna Adelson.
Yes,
Would you describe Donna Adelson's personality as being more controlling or more laid back?
I think more on the controlling side.
What about, is she kind of a more assertive person or a more passive person?
More assertive.
What about your dad, Harvey Adelson? What's his personality like?
I think he's more passive, more go with the flow.
Okay. So they're kind of opposites in that way a bit?
Yeah.
When you and your siblings were growing up, was Donna Adelson a very involved parent?
Yes.
And when I say involved, as far as with your life and with your friends and with school and with that type of thing?
Absolutely.
Did she have certain fixed ideas throughout your life of certain things she wanted to happen in you and your siblings' life?
Yes, absolutely.
Was it acceptable if you decided to not do those certain things that she was fixated she wanted you to do? Was that acceptable to her or no?
No. I think she had certain sort of rigid, fixed ideas or impressions for what she wanted for us, and if you went along with that, things were fine. If you didn't, things were not fine.
Did she have strong opinions about who you all married and what you all did for a living and those types of things?
Yes.
And you're obviously a doctor. Was that an acceptable profession to
Yes.
her?
Yeah. That was okay.
Okay. And was that one of the reasons you became a doctor?
Yes.
Okay. How involved was Donna in yours, Charlie, and Wendy Adelson's life after you grew up, became adults, and had kids of your own?
I think still involved.
Was she more involved with your life, Charlie's life, or Wendy's life, would you say?
Probably more involved with Wendy and probably to a lesser degree with Charlie.
Okay. And then would you be she's the least involved with your life out of the three?
Yeah, probably because I was older, but sure, I agree.
Okay, so you're the oldest child. You're out of the house before the other two?
Yep.
Okay, and then you also lived other places after you went to college throughout the rest of your life?
Yes.
Now, was this like a healthy level of involvement that she had with the three of your lives, or was it more of like a micromanaging as you saw it?
I think it was certainly between over-involved and controlling. It probably lended itself more toward controlling, but there's in various realms, more or less. But I think certainly that was the tension.
Okay, so a little more on the controlling side.
Yes.
And does that include your personal lives as far as your relationships and in your professions, your jobs?
Yes.
Was it Charlie who always needed more attention than the other two children?
I think so, yes.
When did Wendy's life start becoming one that she needed to pay or give more attention to?
I think when she had some troubles in her marriage, I wasn't aware there were any troubles in her marriage until Wendy left. But I think around that time when she had two young children, I think that was when she became more involved. And I was, at that point living, pretty good distance away.
Okay. Were you living in Philadelphia at the time?
Yeah, but first in Philly and then in New York, where we live now.
Okay. And so Charlie always got a lot of attention, and then Donna also started giving her attention also to Wendy's life once Wendy starts going through the separation or divorce.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. From your interactions with Donna Adelson through your whole life growing up and even as an adult, would you describe her as someone who's mentally sharp, thinking about things from all angles, or is she someone who's a little more gullible? Yes, sir.
Objection is sustained. You may continue with your examination.
Were Charlie and Donna Adelson dependent on each other or pretty independent from each other?
I would say Charlie was probably somewhat dependent on my mom to help him out with organizing stuff, his dental practice. I think he probably relied on her a lot.
Okay. And you mentioned the dental practice. When you were growing up, who owned the dental practice?
My dad.
Okay. And throughout your life, was Donna Adelson in charge of the money at Adelson Institute?
I wouldn't know the inside workings of it, but I always remember my mom signing the checks and writing the checkbook at the table when I was back in middle school or high school. So.
Okay. So even back then, she would do some bookkeeping or payroll type things at home.
That's my memory of it.
Okay. And then, did the dental practice, you said it obviously started out at Harvey's. Do you remember a time when Charlie Adelson took over?
I remember my dad making a joke about him having a very understanding boss because Charlie was now his boss. So.
Do not testify to what others have stated out of court. You may testify as to your knowledge, but not what someone else specifically said. The objection is sustained. You may continue.
I understand you were telling us how you remember that, but can you just tell us around what year do you remember that happening?
Around 2012, Charlie purchased the practice.
Okay, and then was there a time that you remember Charlie somehow selling it back to Harvey Adelson as then becoming the head of the practice again?
I will permit you to answer the question if you have knowledge of this matter.
My memory of that was sometime in fall to winter of 2015 to 16, somewhere right around there. That's my memory.
Okay.
Robert Adelson's testimony was explosive. He described his mother as controlling, someone who micromanaged every aspect of her children's lives, from their careers to their personal relationships. He testified that Donna approved of Dan Markel until when he left him. Then everything changed. Donna's hatred of Dan became all-consuming. Robert also described a telling phone call. 2 days after the first arrests in the case, Donna called him on his wedding anniversary. She was desperate to know if he had spoken to police. She told him not to talk to them. For a woman who claimed innocence, she was remarkably concerned about what her son might say. The Adelson family operated like a closed system, a unit where loyalty meant everything and outsiders were threats to be eliminated. Donna sat at the center of this system, pulling strings, manipulating emotions, directing her children like pieces on a chessboard. Perhaps most disturbing was how the Adelsons approached murder like a business transaction. They analyzed costs. They weighed risks. They delegated tasks. Donna provided the motive and the money. Charlie provided the connections. Harvey, Donna's husband, played a supporting role, his phone records showing contact with the conspirators. The hitmen, Sigfrido Garcia and Luis Rivera, were paid approximately $100,000. The money flowed through Catherine Magbanua, Charlie's ex-girlfriend and the mother of Garcia's children. For 2 years after Dan's death, payments continued. The Adelsons believed they had gotten away with it. They had removed the problem. When he was granted relocation, the children moved to South Florida. Their names were even changed from Markel to Adelson. Dan's parents were cut off from their grandchildren. Within a year of Dan's death, it was as if he had never existed, at least in the Adelson family's carefully constructed reality. But Donna had underestimated one thing: the persistence of law enforcement. In April 2016, nearly 2 years after Dan's death, the FBI executed what would become known as the bump. An undercover agent approached Donna Adelson on a South Florida street. He handed her a flyer with Dan Markel's picture and a handwritten note, a demand for $5,000 to help Tato, Luis Rivera, because his friend wasn't being taken care of like Katie and Sigfrido. This undercover operation would crack the case wide open. Watch the moment an FBI agent, posing as Rivera's brother, confronts Donna on the street. Her reaction, and what she did immediately after, would seal her fate.
Black shorts. What is it? Yeah. Okay, bye. Excuse me, Mrs. Adelson? How you doing? Just want to give you this. Listen. You're scared. No, don't be scared. Listen, I just want to let you know that we know that your family has been taking care of Katie and her friend Luca for quite some time after your problem up north had been resolved. And I want to let you know that my brother, he's incarcerated. He helped your family with this problem you guys had up north. And we want to make sure that he's going through some rough times. We want to make sure that you take care of what he's going through, the way you're taking care of Katie and Tuzo. Well, this will explain it. Thank you.
Pause it, please. Does the defendant remain under surveillance for some time after this?
She does.
Okay, we see her take the paper from the undercover and fold it and put it into her purse. Does she ever take it out and look at it before she gets back into her building?
Not that we ever saw, no.
Okay. And does she make any phone calls once she goes back into her building?
When she goes back into her building, she does.
And who is the first person that the defendant calls after the bump?
Charlie Adelson.
Okay, is that call A?
It is.
Okay, publish call A, please.
Hey, hon. Tonight after work or some other time in the very near future, I need to speak with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Did someone write a letter to you or something?
I've got some paperwork hand delivered to me.
You're being sued?
No, that's what I thought it was, but I'm going to talk to you.
Okay.
Okay, so, I'm going to even, I hope to figure out something. Depends how late you'll be, wherever you are.
Well, I'm in Mitch Klein's office on Park Boulevard.
Okay.
So I'm right now in Skyline Chili, and I'll be at his office in the afternoon.
Okay. So the boys who finished their piano lesson around 4ish, and I've got the traffic over there, and they take a ride with them up there.
Does Dad know about this?
The dad did work today, fortunately.
What's, I can't, is it IRS?
You know, the IRS people, they're kind of foggy sometimes, but, fortunately not now.
Okay.
So I will talk to you. I'll give you a heads up if I'm going to drive up that way. Okay? And,
when you know that? Is it involved when
No. So let me just talk to you later, and
what is it? Is that health okay?
Yeah.
Does it involve me or other people?
Well, probably both of us.
What's that?
Probably the two of us. So you probably have a general idea what I'm talking about. So Let's just find some time to talk to each other and take the boys for a run, okay?
You're going to take the boys up there?
No, I think I can come home. Maybe I can get here till about 7 when Dad gets here.
So this morning, did you talk to me today?
He or, tomorrow, and it's important.
All right.
What's the
Well, I'll be up at Mitch Klein's office. You want to come up? Oh, yeah. Oh, really?
I'm just concerned that I just have to get up there and get back in time for Lindsay to get them. Sometimes she gets out a little earlier, but not because it's kind of not yet.
Can I ask you a question? Whose paperwork sent from?
I see that, that's good. It was something that came hand to hand to me, so I exited the building today.
Was it anonymous or?
No, oh no, it's not anonymous. It's not anonymous. I just don't want to discuss it on the phone.
Right, whatever it is. It's silly, but if you want,
I wouldn't bother you, trust me.
Yeah. You want me to come down to see you tomorrow after the day off?
Yes, that would be wonderful. Dad actually works later tomorrow. You know, he goes in at 1 o'clock. We both work out at the gym from 9:30 to 10:30. So
whatever it is, I'll take a look at the paperwork.
Yeah.
I hope it's not the IRS.
I just would like you to review it and give me some input as to what your thoughts are. Okay, so come down tomorrow. Dad leaves at 12, so anytime after 12 would be good.
12 tomorrow?
Yeah, he leaves at 12, he starts at 1 there, so 12, 12:15.
I'll come down after that, I think I gotta leave and see you next week.
That would be great.
Perfect, all right, I'll talk to you later.
Love you coming by.
Would you describe the defendant's demeanor on this call as really calm?
Yes,
She says Dad's at work, fortunately.
she does.
Does she indicate that she's in fear on the call?
No, she does not.
She was handed a piece of paper that had an article about the murder of Dan Markel, right?
Correct.
That's what the interaction was about.
That's correct. That's what he handed her and made reference to it.
And when Charlie asked the defendant what it's about, what does she say?
She says the both of us,
Probably both of us. Probably the two of us.
and then the two of us. Said it twice.
Does she say the name Dan Markel on this call?
No, she does not.
Does she say the name Dan Markel anywhere on this wire?
No, not that I recall.
Did she report this incident to the police?
No, she did not.
Donna's first call after the bump, Charlie. Within minutes, a flurry of calls lit up between family members and co-conspirators. The FBI had poked the hornet's nest and watched the entire system react in real time. The calls were wiretapped. The pattern was unmistakable. Donna to Charlie. Charlie to Magbanua. Magbanua to Garcia. The chain of conspiracy laid bare in intercepted communications. At the Dolce Vita restaurant, FBI agents secretly recorded Charlie and Magbanua discussing the blackmail attempt. Charlie speculated that it might be police. If it was, he said he had nothing to hide, but his words betrayed him. He spoke in code about properties and investments. He told Magbanua, "Your connection to my family is not my mom." The jury would have to decide what that meant. But to prosecutors, it was clear. Charlie was trying to protect Donna to create distance between his mother and the murder plot. One of the most fascinating aspects of this case is the semantics. How the Adelsons communicated in their own coded language, never saying directly what they meant, but making their intentions clear to anyone paying attention. In wiretap calls, Donna used the word TV as code. When she told Charlie to discuss the TV situation, she wasn't talking about electronics. In other calls, she discussed taking care of problems. She spoke about investments and property. Every word was chosen carefully, designed to create plausible deniability. But language can only obscure so much. The timing of communications, the patterns of calls, the financial records, all of it pointed in one direction, toward Donna Adelson as the architect of Dan Markel's murder. Prosecutors would argue that innocent people don't talk in code. Innocent people don't panic when approached by someone claiming to know about a murder. Innocent people don't immediately start making calls to coordinate stories. Donna's own words, captured on recordings, would become her undoing. Her desperation, her need for control, her obsession with fixing her daughter's situation. It was all there, preserved in digital form, waiting to be used against her in court. The Adelsons believed their money could buy anything, including justice, or at least buy their way out of consequences. They lived in a bubble where problems were solved with cash, where inconveniences were eliminated with payments, where the normal rules didn't apply. This sense of invincibility came through in Donna's actions. Even after years of investigation, even after her son Charlie was arrested, she apparently believed she would never face charges. She underestimated the determination of law enforcement and overestimated the protection her wealth could provide. When Charlie was convicted in November 2023, Donna's world began to crumble. Within days, she was at Miami International Airport with a one-way ticket to Vietnam, a country with no extradition treaty with the United States. Was she fleeing? Her attorney would later claim she was just taking a trip, that she planned to return for her grandson's bar mitzvah. But investigators weren't taking any chances. As Donna prepared to board that flight to Vietnam, law enforcement was waiting. Body camera footage captured the moment the Matriarch's carefully constructed world came crashing down.
My husband's almost 80 years old. He can't come with me?
Please, can I help? No, you can't do it. Oh, don't do this, please.
Please.
Oh,
Someone's got to help him get home. This is terrible. You can't do this. This is insane.
Is that okay with you? Please, finish that with handcuffs on. She's not going anywhere. Say your seat. Please. Do you have anything in your pocket?
No, no.
Do you have anything of value in you?
No, I
Does she have a necklace on? You want to take it off? Yeah, take it off. Yeah. And the earrings? And the earrings, the rings, take everything. You give it to your husband. Because once you arrive at County Yale, they're going to make you remove all that.
Can I call my attorney?
You can get the passport already?
Where am I going?
Open your finger.
Where am I going?
You're going to the Dade County Jail. Dade County Jail. Broward County, right? No, this is right here. The one on I'm sorry, remove your earrings. Yeah. I'll call.
Get an Uber, go home.
I will.
Take
I
it
will.
easy.
I will.
All right?
Yes.
Here,
If there's anything else in her person that she wants to.
Oh, it's coming, sweetheart. It's coming. Just a second.
Do you have her driver's license by any chance? I'm sorry? Her driver's
It's in my
Yeah.
It's in my purse.
Yeah. How could yeah, then you could give her. Sure. Do you need her passport? Or can I give it to the husband? The passport can I give it to
What's up?
Where is it?
It's in the blue and white. It's in the blue and white.
Yeah, but I'm going to get her driver's license. Yeah.
The license, the address on your license is correct?
Yes.
She needs what her, she needs what her.
When she goes to the jail, they work
They're all in here, though.
Yes, they work. If I take them here, what will happen is when you go there, they toss them out. So when you go to there, you will meet the nurse and the doctor, and then they'll work in conjunction with the hospital to get you whatever you need.
Yeah, but I don't have a list with me. I know what's... I have a...
Is it multiple or is just one or two?
It's... No, there's a bag of medication in here. Is that what you're asking me?
No, I know. I was just trying to find out if it was like one or two. Yeah, if it was one or two, then she may be going to take the name down.
Do you need anything more from her?
Can I ask you something? Can someone just get my husband outside? And so
I'll get him. The gentleman here will assist him in any way.
I have the ring. Hold on.
Let me have the ring, please. No,
That's crazy.
I love you. Okay, thanks.
All right.
Thanks again. Appreciate it again.
The arrest was dramatic. Donna, a woman accustomed to control, found herself handcuffed in an airport, her escape plan thwarted. Later, she would claim she contemplated taking her own life while in custody, a statement that speaks to the psychological unraveling of someone who had spent years believing she was untouchable. Donna Adelson's trial began in August 2025 after multiple delays. She faced charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to commit murder. The prosecution, led by Chief Assistant State Attorney Georgia Kappelman, methodically built their case. They presented the custody battle as motive. They showed Donna's deep involvement in her daughter's divorce. They played the wiretap calls. They presented financial records showing money flowing to the killers. And crucially, they called Donna's own children to testify against her. When he took the stand for the fourth time in connection with her ex-husband's murder, she described her mother as very angry at Dan Markel, someone who micromanaged my life and was really upset that a judge refused to let her relocate with the children. When he testified under immunity compelled by the state, Robert Adelson, estranged from the family, testified about Donna's controlling nature and her hatred of Dan. His testimony was particularly damaging because he had nothing to gain from lying. He had already separated himself from the family that had brought so much destruction. The defense argued that Donna was merely a gullible mother who believed her son's explanation of an extortion scheme. They claimed the state lacked direct evidence linking her to the murder plot. They pointed out that Donna had never directly communicated with the hitman, but the jury wasn't convinced. The pattern of behavior, the timing of events, the financial records, the intercepted communications, it all painted a picture of a woman who orchestrated murder from a distance, using her children as intermediaries. On September 4th, 2025, after days of deliberation, the jury returned guilty verdicts on all counts. Donna Adelson had remained mostly silent throughout the trial, but when the verdicts came down, her reaction revealed the depth of her conviction, not in guilt, but in her own perceived innocence. This was a woman who, even in defeat, could not accept responsibility.
What happened to Danny is unforgivable, but I am an innocent woman convicted of this terrible crime without evidence. Danny was a brilliant legal scholar. He would have been appalled at the total lack of justice that went on during my trial. He would have been embarrassed to have his name associated with any of it. There are two crimes here. The first was Danny being viciously murdered. The second one is taking my life, the life of an innocent woman. Convicting me should not be retribution for Danny's death. That is not justice for Dan. I've always respected the law. I've never gotten a parking ticket, but I'm going to prison for a murder I did not commit. I do intend to file an appeal so that hopefully I have the opportunity to be given a fair trial outside of Tallahassee. 11 years ago, Danny was murdered and taken from all of us who loved him. For the past 9.5 years, the state has broadcast to the world, including Danny's parents and sister, that I hired hitmen to kill him. Never in a million years would I have wanted Danny to be harmed or killed, nor could I ever do something that would leave these two small boys to grow up without him. I love these boys more than life itself. This is a lifetime of loss for these children. They didn't deserve this. His family didn't deserve this. Danny didn't deserve this. And so, as I appear before you today, Your Honor, I promise you with my whole heart, I swear to you on my life, I was not involved in any way with Danny's murder. I was not.
Don't have any further argument to make.
Donna gasped and sobbed as the verdicts were read. The woman who had controlled so much for so long had finally lost control. On October 13th, 2025, Donna Adelson returned to court for sentencing. It would be the first time she addressed the court directly, and what she said would shock everyone present. Donna had chosen not to testify during her trial, but at sentencing, she finally spoke. What emerged was not remorse, not acceptance, but defiance. Listen to how a convicted killer sees herself as the real victim.
She can remain at council table.
Thank you. I'm going to move the microphone. Because this is not amplified.
Okay. Is this loud enough, Judge?
I can hear you.
Thank you for letting me speak. My son-in-law, Dan Markel, was a fine and decent man. He was well educated and passionate about his career. He was a good son-in-law, but more importantly, he was a caring and loving father. On July 18th, 2014, his car was followed, leaving his home. It should have been just like any other day, an ordinary day in the life of Ben and Lincoln's father, but it wasn't. He didn't know when he left his boys off at daycare that would be the last time he would see them, and the last time they would see him. He didn't know when he went to the gym afterwards that would be the last time he would exercise. And he didn't know when he drove home that his life would end within minutes. Danny wasn't just being followed, he was being hunted. He was brutally murdered in broad daylight, sitting in his car, in his garage, by vicious killers. I cannot imagine the terror he felt when he saw a gun pointed at him through the window of his car. I cannot conceive of his heroic efforts to stay alive during the hours after the attack. Danny died in the early morning hours of July 19th. His death is a loss to his children, his parents, his sister, all of us in his family, his friends, his colleagues in the legal community, and to his students at FSU Law School. Danny's boys each have a photo of themselves with their Abba, their dad, beside their beds. They grew up kissing the framed photo and saying, "Good night, Abba, I love you." The pictures and memories are all they have because cruel, cold-hearted people took him from all of us who loved him. My heart was broken when Danny died. My grandsons were going to grow up without the father who loved them. I wondered, how could we help these boys through this trauma? It was then that my husband and I knew that the best way to honor Danny's memory would be to share with these children an abundance of love, the love that Danny would have given them if he were alive. It is interesting how the state can't make up its mind about who is what they call the, quote, mastermind behind this murder. In both of Catherine Magbanow's trials, the state claimed she was the mastermind behind Danny's murder. In my son Charlie Adelson's trial, they claimed he was the mastermind. And now in my trial, they claimed that I, this grandma, was the mastermind behind the murder. I had no idea that other people planned to cut Danny's life short. And the people who did this are exactly where they deserve to be. But I had no knowledge that this horrible, evil act was going to take place. If I had become aware of this plan before Danny was murdered, I would have stopped it. With not one iota of actual evidence, the state convinced the Tallahassee jury that I solicited and conspired with other people to have Danny killed. Where is the evidence prior to the murder? The evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that the state needed to prove their case. Where is the evidence before July 18th, 2014 at 10:50 in the morning?
Before you continue, Mrs. Adelson, as it relates to this statement, is the defense trying to re-argue the trial?
No, Judge, just giving Adelson an opportunity to be heard.
Mrs. Adelson, you certainly can continue. However, the court can take into consideration the utter lack of remorse that you are displaying. Please proceed if you desire to do so.
Where is the evidence before July 18th, 2014 at 10:50 a.m. that revealed that I had any involvement in this vile and horrific act? Where is the solicitation and conspiracy evidence? The state needed to show that there was evidence before the murder to convict me. The state couldn't show that because there wasn't any evidence. They were trying an innocent person. It makes you wonder if the jurors were sleeping when the state had Sergeant Corbett on the stand for hours. Their own star witness testified that my phone was never, I repeat, never at my son's house on the night of the murder. The state's theory that my husband and I dropped off money to my son was blown out of the water by their own witness. And yet, the state continued to push that story, that lie of the so-called money drop to the jury through the remainder of the trial. And the jury bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. Reasonable doubt. Many months ago, my attorneys filed a motion for a change of venue. An expert witness testified that Tallahassee had been barraged with over 9 years of negative social media, printed news, television news, and podcast publicity about my family. He explained to the court, both with evidence and demonstratives, that for me to receive a fair trial, it needed to be held in any of the researched and designated areas in the state of Florida other than Tallahassee. All I wanted was a level playing field, but the court wanted the trial here, in the hotbed of Tallahassee. I sat through 3 days of jury selection. 180 potential jurors were asked if they had developed an opinion in my case. Those that answered yes also added, "I believe she is guilty." Not one person, not one, said, "I think she may be innocent." That should have been a clue to the court to grant our motion for a change of venue, but the court denied the motion. One of my jurors admitted during jury selection that she had background information concerning what one of the state's witnesses would be testifying about. Why was she allowed to be on my jury?
What moment?
Another juror...
Mrs. Fulford,
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Mr. Zellman, again, this has nothing to do with elocution of any sort. This is a raising of grievances, which are properly given to the appellate court. What does any of this have to do with sentencing?
Just one moment, please.
Donna stood before the court and proclaimed her innocence. My son-in-law, Dan Markel, was a fine and decent man, she began, seemingly offering sympathy. But then she pivoted. She questioned the evidence. She accused the state of fabricating the case. She claimed multiple people had been called masterminds. First Magbanua, then Charlie, now her. Where is the evidence? She demanded. I've never even gotten a parking ticket, and yet I'm being sent to prison for a crime I did not commit. The judge interrupted her multiple times. Her statement, he said, showed an utter lack of remorse. Then Harvey Adelson, Donna's husband, stood to speak. His words would reveal how deeply the family's denial ran, and how even in the face of overwhelming evidence, they clung to their narrative of persecution.
Thank you, Judge, and respected officers of the court for allowing me to speak. I have been Donna Adelson's husband for over 50 years. My wife sacrificed everything so that she could pour her heart and soul into our children, our grandchildren, and our marriage. This summer was our 54th wedding anniversary, and I had to spend it without her, hand in mind. She has done nothing wrong, and yet is being punished for a crime that she did not commit. I thought we lived in a different kind of world, but I guess I was wrong. I have listened, watched, and sat in the courtroom for the entire trial, and I could not help but scream in my mind by the witnesses that were brought forward by the prosecution who told outright lies. I didn't know that you could lie in a courtroom, but apparently you can. Danny's parents contend that they have never seen their grandchild. But for years they say they've never seen her. But Wendy has shared with me pictures and videos and letters from their visits. They have suffered immensely at the loss of their son, but they also contend to tell lies to the court about our grandchildren. Donna has always been a loving and caring wife and is innocent of the charges. A biased judge and jury were influenced by years of one-sided news pieces and social media.
Dr. Ms. Fulford, this has nothing to do with the character of the defendant or relates to sentencing.
May I just one moment, please?
Go ahead.
All right, thank you for letting me continue. Donna did not participate in the heinous acts that she was convicted of doing. You are sending an innocent woman to prison. You have taken my wife, and you have taken my life as well. And for what? This is not justice. It is vengeance, and it is wrong.
You have an examination for Dr. Adelson.
No, Your Honor. No, Judge.
Any other witness statements that you wish?
Harvey's statement was blistering. He accused the judge and jury of bias. He claimed witnesses had lied. You're sending an innocent person to prison, he told the judge. This is not justice. This is vengeance, and it is wrong. Donna also made claims about her treatment in custody, alleging assault and denial of medical care. These claims, like her protestations of innocence, were part of a broader pattern. A woman desperate to reclaim the narrative, to be seen as victim rather than perpetrator.
Okay. And then she named a package that she wanted, and she's out. She was gone. She was just that fast. That fast.
Okay. How bad would you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad would you rate the pain at the time that she did that to you?
Oh my God, it was a 10.
Okay.
I didn't know my arm could, I didn't know how my arm could reach that far back.
Okay. And what did you do after she did that to you?
So, kind of stood there for a minute, and then I just thought, okay, I'm gonna go back to my bunk. And I went back to my bunk, I got under the covers, and I cried. I just stayed under my covers. I didn't come out.
Okay. Where were you at, first of all, when that took place?
In October. So I was in the bathroom. It's 10:30 at night. I went in to brush my teeth. There are three sink stations in the bathroom. Each one has 4 sinks. And I was at the center station with my back to the door, and I'm a righty, so I was holding right hand, and I was balancing myself with my left hand on the sink, just brushing my teeth. That's all I was doing.
And what happened?
And my left hand away from the sink, and twisted my arm, and jerked it behind my back, with my neck.
Okay.
And
did it hurt?
Yeah, it hurt.
Okay. What happened?
It hurt. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she's, in the same breath that she did that with my arm, she said, "You're going to buy me commissary." I said, "I'm going to what?" And she said, "Those pretty white teeth knocked out of your mouth, you're going to buy me commissary."
9 or 10, somewhere in the morning. Okay, and when she told you that she didn't have any sick call forms for you to request a Band-Aid, and you would need to get it from the night nurse, approximately what time does the night nurse come?
So the night nurse comes anywhere from 11:30 to 2:30 in the morning.
11:30 p.m. to what time?
2:30 a.m.
To 2:30 a.m.
Right.
And in the meantime, you were supposed to use the feminine pads.
I called my husband. He told me to elevate my arm, to wash it.
The judge remained unmoved. He sentenced Donna to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder charge, plus an additional 30 years for conspiracy and solicitation, to be served consecutively. Donna Adelson, who had spent her life controlling others, would spend the rest of her life in a prison cell. What drives a grandmother to orchestrate murder? Psychologists who have studied the case point to several factors. First, there's the issue of enmeshment, when family boundaries become so blurred that a parent cannot separate their own identity from their child's. Donna didn't just love Wendy. She lived through her. Wendy's problems were Donna's problems. And Dan Markel, by preventing the relocation, had become Donna's enemy. Second, there's the wealth factor. The Adelsons had always been able to solve problems with money. Why should this be any different? In their worldview, Dan was simply an obstacle to be removed, a problem to be solved through financial means. Third, there's the maternal protector complex taken to its darkest extreme. Donna likely saw herself as defending her daughter and grandchildren. In her twisted logic, she may have genuinely believed she was doing the right thing. But perhaps most chilling is the absence of empathy. Throughout the trial, through all the proceedings, Donna never expressed genuine remorse for Dan Markel's death. She mourned only her own situation. She saw herself as the victim. This is what happens when privilege meets pathology, when family loyalty becomes family tyranny, when a mother's love curdles into something toxic and deadly. Today, 5 people are in prison for Dan Markel's murder. Sigfrido Garcia, the triggerman, is serving life. Luis Rivera, who drove the getaway car, is serving 19 years after cooperating with authorities. Catherine Magbanua, the intermediary, is serving life. Charlie Adelson, who arranged the killing, is serving life plus 60 years. And now Donna Adelson joins them, sentenced to life plus 60 years. Only one person at the center of this case has never been charged, Wendy Adelson. She maintains her innocence and has testified under immunity grants at multiple trials. Whether she had advanced knowledge remains one of the case's enduring questions. Dan Markel's children, now teenagers, live with their mother in South Florida. They have no relationship with their paternal grandparents. Their father's name was changed. They've been told one version of events. Dan Markel's parents, Ruth and Phil, have lost not only their son, but access to their grandchildren. They have attended every trial, seeking justice for Dan and hoping for a day when they might see their grandsons again. The case has become a cautionary tale about the dangers of parental overreach, the corruption that can hide behind privilege, and how family loyalty can be weaponized into something monstrous. As we close this chapter, certain questions linger. How far would you go for family? At what point does protection become destruction? When does love become obsession? Donna Adelson believed she was saving her daughter. Instead, she destroyed her family. She turned her son into a murderer. She weaponized her daughter's pain. She created orphans of her grandchildren, who will grow up knowing their grandmother orchestrated their father's death. The Adelson case forces us to examine our own families, our own boundaries, our own capacity for denial. It reminds us that evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks like a grandmother, someone ordinary, someone who believes they're acting out of love. But make no mistake, what Donna Adelson did was evil. She took a brilliant mind, a father, a son, and erased him because he stood in the way of what she wanted. She used money, manipulation, and family bonds to commit the ultimate crime. And now, finally, she's paying the price. The matriarch who controlled everything can control nothing. The woman who believed wealth could solve anything learned that some things, justice, truth, consequence, cannot be bought. Donna Adelson will die in prison. Charlie Adelson will die in prison. Catherine Magbanua will die in prison. Sigfrido Garcia will die in prison. But Dan Markel is already dead. His sons will never know their father. His parents will never stop grieving. Was it worth it, Donna? Was your need for control, your obsession with having your daughter close, worth all of this destruction? The answer echoes in an empty courtroom, in a professor's garage, in the lives forever shattered by one family's descent into darkness. This is the legacy of Donna Adelson, mastermind, matriarch, murderer. If this case made you think differently about family, power, and justice, subscribe to Dark Trail Files. We bring you the stories that matter, the cases that reveal uncomfortable truths about human nature. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join us as we continue to explore the darkest corners of true crime. Because the truth matters, justice matters, and Dan Markel's life mattered. Thank you for watching Dark Trail Files.